Hello and welcome back to class. Today we're going to be looking at 9.2.3, How Can I Find the Side Length? Subtitled, Understanding Square Root. Hey, we've already done some of this stuff, so today should be quite easy for most of you. Here we go. I'm going to head back here. I want you to start with your CYU quiz, with the Edge Elastic quiz for 9.2.2, yesterday's homework. And then you can do the warm-up on pages 2 and 3. On page 2 here, Nikita wants to use the area of the squares to figure it right to find the lengths of the sides of a right triangle. Find the missing area. So you need to tell me how to get that missing area. Based on what we know about the Pythagorean theorem, you should know something about the sum of the squares on the legs and the square on the hypotenuse thing. And then for part B, what are the lengths of the legs of the right triangle? How do you know? So I want to know the lengths of the legs based on their areas. So you put those here and here. And then part C, how long is the hypotenuse? So then you have to tell me how long you think this is based on its 20 square units. It can just be an estimate. And it looks like you do have a calculator available if you want to use that to help you with your estimate. Please go to your quiz and the warm-up, and you can go ahead and pause this video right now. All right, welcome back. I hope you did well on your quiz and the warm-up here. So this is 980A. I got an area of 4 square units for the missing question mark because 16 plus 4 would be 20, and the Pythagorean theorem says if you add the squares on the legs, you equal the square on the hypotenuse. On the part B, I figured out that if this was 4, then this had to be a 2 by 2 square. And if this was 16, this was a 4 by 4 square. And I can say those because the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 20, a little bit more difficult. So when you go to unsquare this square, so when your hypotenuse squared equals 20, then h is going to have to be the square root of 20, right? So, because that's the inverse of squaring, is square rooting. So the square root of 20 is between 4 and 5 somewhere, because 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. Closer to 4 by a little bit. It's close to the middle almost. So I estimated 4.47. And I did use the calculator up above. I tried 4.4 squared, then I tried 4.5 squared, and I kept adjusting it until I got 4.47 squared, which is 19.98, a very close answer. All right, so today we're going to be going on here, day 1, for understanding square roots. You develop a way to decide if a triangle is a right triangle by looking at the squares of the side lengths of the triangle. If you already know a triangle is a right triangle, how can the Pythagorean theorem help you determine the length of a leg or a hypotenuse? Well, we've done that, so you should be able to go through this very easily. Page 7, 8, and 9, I want you to get the answers to 981, 82, 83. Work with your teams. This one's just asking you about the perfect squares and why they're called perfect squares. So if you had a perfect square of 36, your side length would be 6. You need to go find all the answers to this problem. Page 8, they're going to talk to you about what a square root symbol is. You should know this. Talk with your team, give me the square roots of these numbers, and give me a method for figuring it out. And then page 9, I want you to try to answer these questions that'll help us get to the square root of 24. Pause this video, go do 981 to 983. Okay, I hope you found the first 3 problems there fairly simple. Your perfect squares should have been fairly easy. The hardest one here is probably 225, which is 15, because 15 times 15 is 225. Some people accidentally their brain says square root of 16 and they think 8 because their brain is thinking half of 8, but they need to be thinking what two identical factors multiply to make 16, like 4 times 4, or for 100, 10 times 10, right? So just be watching for that error. I call these perfect squares because their square roots are whole number values. If you had unit tiles, you could arrange them into a square, where a number like 8 can only be made into a rectangle, like 8 by 1, 2 by 4. Those are rectangles. I can make squares out of 64, like 8 by 8. Problem 82. Square root of 49 is 7, square root of 121 is 11, square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 169 is 13. I really would like you to memorize the first 20 perfect square numbers, so all the way up to 20 times 20, which is 400. It'll help you with your quick computation and estimation later. My method for finding the square root is I think about the factors of 49 and I look for pairs that form squares. So 49 is 7 squared. The square root of the square of 7 is just 7. And we have a rule that says the square root of n squared is n. Problem 83. It's not possible to make make a perfect square out of 24 tiles, because 24 is 1 by 24, or 2 by 12, or 3 by 8, or 4 by 6. Those are the only arrangements you can do with those tiles, and all of them are rectangles. The length of the side of a square wow, what is that? Oh, for the square, if you made a 24, if you were to try to take the square root of 24, you would get between 4 and 5. Now, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. The answer I'm looking for has got to be really close to 20 or to 5, because 25 and 24 are really close together. So if I were estimating it, I would say it's about 4.9, part C here. And 4.9 squared is actually 24.01. So it's really, 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 really close. That covers the first 3 problems. All right. Now, what I want you to do next is challenge yourself a little bit with this next activity. You'll just click on this link and it's going to take you to a Desmos that has you making perfect squares. And I found some of it a little bit challenging and had to really, really think critically. I will give you the hint. You have to be flexible in how you orient your squares. That's the only thing I'll say on that. And after you've done with that one, then I need you to go on and work on tonight's Check Your Understanding assignment so that you can be prepared for tomorrow's Edulastic quiz. Have fun working with that, finishing that work, and please behave for any substitute teacher you have. Have a great day, Bobcats.